Today is the third Pedic grade of Mem Aleph. We're up to the bottom of the page of Mem Aleph, beginning of the third Pedic, and we're finally getting back to Avodah Zarah, which is the theme of this Gemara. Says the Gemara. Now, just a quick introduction. There's a thing called a tzelem, a thing called Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah means definitely it was used and worshipped as Avodah Zarah. Tzelem means it's a statue. We're not sure whether it was used for Avodah Zarah. It was just a statue for the sake of being a statue or some kind of adornment. So, we'll have a machlekes and Mishnah here. I think Meir and Chacham as follows: Kol hatzlamim, any tzelem, a student is forbidden. You're not allowed to have any benefit from it because there's a possibility for Avodah Zarah, as we'll see. Once a year, they're being worshipped. Divrei Rab Meir, and the Chacham say Eino Oser, it's not forbidden. Why is it forbidden if they're being worshipped? Because they say the only statues that are being worshipped are statues that actually have a message. For example, of control, of power. The statue, the person in the statue is holding a stick, or a zipper, a bird, a kadu, or a ball. But it doesn't matter what he's holding. If he's holding something, that means he's in control. That's something that's a deity. Otherwise, it's merely a statue. Says the Gemara. Let's understand what's going on here. If it's true that these idols were worshipped once a year, then my time with the Rabbanon. So what if it's once a year is enough to make it Avodah Zarah? Why would Rabbanon say it's not awesome? What happens is, remember, a mayor is the one who's concerned about even a miyat. Yeah, exactly. Rabbi Yosef said that they did not all of the statues were being used. Only a couple. Remember, a mayor is chayish l'miyut. He's concerned even by the few. As it goes as follows. In the region of Rameir, once a year was worshipped. But not all of them. But Rameir chayish l'miyut, he's concerned even by a minimum. Gozar shar mekayim is otu oisemakim. So since even a few instances for him is very considered chashuv, so he made a gezed and extended it everywhere. And the Rabbanon, the Loichai Shemut Rabbanon, was not worried about a miyut, an insignificant amount. Therefore, obviously, whichever was definitely used as Avodah Zarah, Chum don't argue. But the rest of the places were not going to make a gezerah and say, well, let's forbid all statues. Just because in one or two places they worship such idols occasionally. Rabbi Shmuel says, I'm going to limit it by when does Rab Meir say? When does the mayor say that that we worship? Now, according to Rashi, he was only talking now about the mayor. When does the mayor say that that is possible that we get a geyser on these slumim if it's a statue of a royalty? It's a statue of royalty. People worship the royalty. And is talking about that there were the statues placed in the entrance to the city, which means it's very significant. In our version of the Gemara says Uba. I mean, he's continuing. Not only is it a statue of the royal family, but it has to be the entrance of the city. According to others, and Rashi they say as well, it take off the vav. And Rabbi Yechon is arguing. He said, I don't care what kind of statue it is, but if it's the entrance of the city, then you know that this is a getchket, it's an Avodah Zarah. Otherwise, not. Others learn that this is actually even according to Chachamim, who say that if you have a stick or these other things, Avodah Zarah also follow with these rules that the stick has to be the entrance of the city or of a king. Says further, Rabba says machlekes. When is the machlekes b'shal kfarim? When it comes to a statue in front of the village, avo b'shal krachim in the large metropolis of the city. Everyone says the statues there is purely for covet. My time will not did it for beauty, for enhancement, for covet, not for a getchka, not for idol. Oh, I remember that. It's still there. With the kfarim and villages, as look, villages were generally much more religious. You think they did it for beauty, and they can't afford these things stamped for covet. The kfarim in the villages, if they did it, surely it's for Avodah Zarah. It's a kind of worship. So you're right. Let me amend what I said. This is what we say. Machlekes is only in large cities, whether these statues, without holding a stick or anything else, is considered an idol. But in the villages, then everyone agrees it is forbidden. Now the Chum say only if it's holding something in his hand, something that shows something. What are these? What's the message behind these three things? In Makol, now the Gemara is going to be very facetious over here, and the Gemara is going to say everything the opposite of what it is. Makol, the statue is holding a stick. He beats himself because he's lower than the whole world. It's facetious. What it means is this: the message is I'm running the world with a stick. Tzipor, a bird, should says exactly. Euphemism. Tzipor. Says he's under the world like a bird. Actually, when he means he's above, he can watch everything, oversee everything. Kadur, a ball. Says that he's like under the world like a ball. Now, Taisa says the most fascinating thing. You know that for a long time they thought the world was flat until Magellan went, and then to prove that they were scared they're going to fall off the world if they go too far to the east, to the west. So look at Taisa's here. Taisa's here. This is Kikadur, 6 lines into the Taisa. It's a very important Taisa just to show you how the Gemara knew everything. Shaha'olam agul. Taisas are 400 years before Magellan. The world is round. Alexander's Mugden, King Alexander, Ola Lamaila had his balloon that he went upwards, he soared upwards. He saw the entire world. He went very high up that he was able to see that the world, the curvature of the world, the Sayam and the sea Kaira, like a ball. The Atlantic that surrounds the whole world. He was able to see the what do you call the curvature of the globe. And that's why the significance of the Kadur in this statue. Amazing. Something about it further. Tell me learned. 10 lines on top of the page. They added a few more symbols. Sayif, a sword, a Torah, a crown, Tabas, a ring. Sayif, why the mission doesn't include it, and they do. Mikot, first they thought, at least the Baalmos, a sign that he's a robber and he's in control. Well, the he can kill. Again, this old facetious that he's killing himself. He can kill everybody he wants. He's in control. A Torah crown, because of a Gedil Klum, Almas, they wove together, a nice little thing, a crown of flowers. Well, it was safe at the end. Savur Ka'atorah lemelech, like a crown of a king. And these are all symbols that they reign and they rule. Tabas ring, ba'alma, just a ring that you send through a shliach that you pass on somebody else. So that he can sign, seal, and deliver, and what do you call it, and sentence everybody to death. Rabbi Shimon says, no matter what he's holding in his hand, as long as he's holding something in his hand, that means he's in control. That's a getchka. Second of all, I feel it's red, even if he holds a pebble, I feel a kiss him, even just a little plant of wood, anything. The point is, the moment he's holding something in his hand, that means he's in control. That's idle. If it's for covet, they wouldn't be holding anything in the hand. It'd be just more the focus is on the face and not on the power of the hand.
We said on the gate of the city.
Yeah, and the gate of the city is according to the mayor, and according to Chachamim, the machlekes. And according to the machlekes, if the gate of the city is also Rashi's clear, this is all according to the mayor. I mean, according to Rashi's version, according to Chachamim, I don't care where the statue is. If there's a statue holding on something, even in the middle of the city or opposite the yeshiva, it's an Avodah Zarah.
Just now, they put that on the gate of the city.
Yeah, but I'm saying according to the way the Rashi learns is going to come. I don't care where you put it. Anyway, if he's holding on to something, then that's a Avodah Zarah. According to other Rishonim, that these qualifications go according to Saira Meir and Saira Chacham, according to everybody. But yeah, Ulysses Grant, right in Grand Army Plaza. No, Grand Army Plaza when that statue there. Boy, Ravashi asked, Tofas biyodei tzoya. You tell me anything he's holding. What about he's holding excrement in his hand? Now, how do we interpret that? That this is again a sign that the whole world compared to him is dung. So therefore, it is Avodah Zarah. Or the other way around. That maybe he is nothing compared to everybody else. I don't do Avodah Zarah. Not sure. Because you do have very weird statues, in some of these cities. They're urinating, they're doing this, and in the middle of the cities in Europe. Says the Mishnah, Hamoitze. Now remember again, a tzelem means we're not 100%. It's a figurine. We're not 100% sure if this is Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah means 100% sure. So whenever the Gemara uses the word Avodah Zarah, 100% sure Avodah Zarah. Tselem, not sure. Suffix. So it says the Mishnah, Hamoitze, if you found shivrei slumim, broken parts of a tselem. So now there's like a double sveka here. It's a sveka. First of all, who said it was ever used for Avodah Zarah? It's tselem. Second of all, even if it was used, maybe the guy broke it, and we'll learn later on that a guy can be mevatel, and we'll learn later how you can be mevatel Avodah Zarah, and it's much easier for a guy to mevatel, and so therefore it's a sveka. It's a sveka mutter. But matzah tavnis yad, you found a full hand, the form of a hand, the tavnis the full form of a leg. Why? The hand never. Sometimes that's all they make for Avodah Zarah, just a hand, just a foot. As we'll see, it's sitting on a base, so you can tell it's not a broken piece, broken off from a bigger piece. That's how it's fashioned, with its own base. How much was Shmuel? Make a bigger chiddush. Not only shivrei slumim, but even if you found an Avodah Zarah, there's only one suffix. Right, because definitely Avodah Zarah, but it was broken. It is mutter, because we're going to assume that he was mevatlet. Yeah, so the Gemara, and we learn shivrei tzlamim. The Mishnah says only tzlamim, and the reason is I told you svek, but l'chayda by Avodah Zarah should be asur. Only one suffix. So the Gemara, who I didn't really the Mishnah could have told you that fil shivrei even broken parts of Avodah Zarah is also mutter, because we're going to say you can no longer use Avodah Zarah with broken. But how do you tell the shivrei tzlamim? So why is the Mishnah talking about tzlamim? Say a bigger chiddush. Part of the Mishnah is leading you into the sefer to the end. The sefer of the chiddush is matzah tavnis yad. The tavnis regel, he found the full form of a hand, the full form of a foot. Had a if the Mishnah would have if the Mishnah would have said only Avodah Zarah, then the Mishnah concludes tavnis yad or tavnis regel, I would say, oh, Avodah Zarah, a hand or a foot is Avodah Zarah, and therefore it's awesome. Had it been a tzelem and all you found was a tavnis tzelem a step lower, you're not sure. I would say it's mutter. I would say it's only a tavnis yad, and we're not even sure it'll be mutter. And commercial law that know that even in the case of telling which the suffix of Avodah Zarah, if it's a full form of a hand, a full form of a foot, it's also never, because people do serve such idols. Tanan, we learn in the Mishnah tavnis yad tavnis regular never because people actually make such Avodah Zarah. What do you mean? What's a miyuta here?
There are some instances where some of these.
Kiyetza means that it's a suffix. If we're machzik, it's a suffix. Even a full tzelem is a suffix. So this doesn't. We're saying this doesn't turn into a svek. It's the same suffix. Since people make Avodah Zarah, did they use Avodah Zarah or not? We don't know. It's a suffix. And just like a tzelem itself is asur because maybe it's Avodah Zarah. This is the same category. No. This is even.
Some people do this, you know.
Tanan, we learn the Mishnah. Why? Doesn't it look like it was broken off? So the Gemara Targum Shmuel. Shmuel says we're not talking about what's broken off. If it's obviously broken off, then we already learned. It's like mutter. But it has a base, and since it's placed on the base, it shows you this is a finished product. It's a finished product. Yeah. So the Gemara. It says the Gemara, we learned an interesting machlekes between Rabbi Yechon and the Shlakish. Avodah Kacham, you have Avodah Zarah. Remember, a guy can break Avodah Zarah, mevatel Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah shenishtabra me'ela. Avodah Zarah that it broke on its own. Do we say that the guy therefore says it's no longer is now mevatel, or do we say no, still Avodah Zarah? Because it's not the case where the guy broke it. The guy broke it, that means he's mevatel. It fell off and broke on its own. How do we treat that? Is Rabbi Yechon says asur is asur because the guy wasn't mevatel. The Shlakish amar muteris. And more explains. Rabbi Yechon amar asur dalebotla. Nobody was mevatel. It broke on its own. The Shimon Shlakish says muteris. You know why? Because very interesting psychology. The whole thing, this is my God, this is my deity. He's supposed to protect me and help me. He can't even take care of himself. He fell off a table and he broke. How was he going to protect me? So therefore, as soon as he sees that, he's mevatel. He says, he can't save himself. How in the world is he going to save me and protect me? So he gives up on it. So therefore, like you said, psychologically, you can see that they're not going to have any trust and faith in this Avodah Zarah. So now Rabbi Yechon will ask a couple of questions to Shlakish. when they took the Aron away from Beis Eli, and the police took it, a lot of tragedies happened. People got sick, couldn't go to the bathroom, a lot of tragedies happened. So what happened was that their Avodah Zarah, the Geshke fell down and collapsed and landed on the threshold of the door, and they got all scared. So it says there in the pasuk, the Rosh, and they woke in the morning, and their Geshke was called Dogon, and it says there that the Dogon fell on the ground. The Rosh Dogon, and the head of the Dogon, which they cut with the other with 2 hands, is Karusas Ela Miftam, was cut off and broken and landed on the threshold. Uksiv, and then therefore it says Lo Yiduchu Koine Dogon, that the koinim of this the priests of this Avodah Zarah didn't come inside. They didn't want to cross the threshold because the Geshke was over there. What do you see from there? It fell down, it broke, and they still treated it like Avodah Zarah. So you see, like I said, it doesn't automatically mean that they're mevatel Avodah Zarah. I'll tell you, you know what? Shloka says, I'll tell you what happened there. Not because they felt that this was still the original Avodah Zarah. They felt that the kedusha of this, that the kayachol, whatever it is, that the powers that this God had was transferred to the threshold. That's why it fell down and landed on the threshold to give over the powers, a transference. Yeah, so now that it's a threshold that became a new God. Because we think that a God has to be something superior being. The threshold everybody steps on, that's where their God was. That's what they thought. I mean, try to understand. We can't even begin to grasp how they, their whole attitude. They started to serve, worship the threshold. They say that whatever it is about this God transferred over to the step. That's a question. It says, it says in our Mishnah, if he found broken parts of a tzelem, they're mutter. Since the Mishnah talks about a tzelem, the mutter, the broken parts of Avodah Zarah will be asr. Yeah. But according to you, Reish Lakish, you say if Avodah Zarah is broken, the goyim definitely mevatel it. So why should it be asr? Even though it's only, there's no suffix here, it was definitely Avodah Zarah. But you say if it broke by itself, it's no longer Avodah Zarah. So what's the problem? But if it would be an Avodah Zarah broken part, it would be asr. So he says, who told you to make that diak? No, Tema, don't say that. Don't say that, no. That broken parts of Avodah Zarah, no. That if you found lying around a tzelem, it's us. It's only because it's broken. Because the tzelem itself is a chasafik, so you might think, I don't know if this is worship or not. I found it, maybe it's not a Avodah Zarah. Kamasha, that's awesome. And this follows the tzelem itself. Even though we don't know what's Avodah Zarah, we follow Meir, that's Asis. But Rabbi Yechon, someone has a question, and according to Rabbi Yechon, Meir, from Rabbi Meir, no, the chiddush here is that even Rabbi Meir, that is so machmer when it comes to a tzelem, as we had in the beginning of this page, he is so machmer because once a year in some places they worship it, and that's enough to ask this particular whatever it is. If that's the case, but the chiddush is that even Rabbi Meir would hold. But if it broke, if it's only shvarim, it's mutter. That's what the Mishnah is out to tell you. That's not to be a daig. Oh, had it been Avodah Zarah, it would be mutter. So the Gemara, no, Avodah Zarah or be asr or be Avodah Zarah is asr. We're talking about the Meir here. The Meir he was such a big machmer, but he would make it here as well. So the Gemara, okay, Rabbi Meir is talking about Selim, but the Chachamim hold Selim is mutter. They ask Avodah Zarah. So use the same logic that a broken Avodah Zarah, just like by the Meir hold, he equates a Selim to Avodah Zarah. And you're telling me that I made hold that if according to the is so chomer, it's only intact. But if it's broken, it's mutter. That means transfer that to Chachamim, who hold that no, tell that also wrong. But Avodah Zarah is also obviously. So a broken brother should be mutter. Is that ayah to me? Let's ask the question: Is that Rameya nishlu alabanim? Let's learn from Rameya that the same thing would apply to Chachamim. But look, Rameya said Slam Masurim, yet he says Shir Islamim Mutarin. So let's now move over to the Rabbanon. Avodah Kechavim Nami, a full-fledged Avodah Zarah. He asked her that she's Asr, but Shvureh Mutarin. Broke is Mutar, right to the Shlokish, Akash Rabbi Yechon. So Rabbi Yechon, what are you comparing the Tzelem of Rameya, which is merely a Chumrah, a Gzeda, to, it's a suffix, but Rameya is Machmer because he's Chaysh Mutar and Gzeda, to Avodah Zarah, which is a Vadai Avodah Zarah. What's the difference? Hochi hashta. What are you talking about? How can you bring it together? Oh, some over there, aimer of the member of the Chasafik, right? And the team Shalom of them, aimer Baklum, Avodah Chum. It's like a there. First of all, who says Avodah Zarah? Now that it's broken, maybe the guy Mavatl. I'll grant you that there's a maybe here. It could very well be the Mavatl. But it's a Svek, a Safik and a Safik, we know Svek is Mutter. Right? As the Rivosh explains in the Tshuva, what's the logic of sex? Right? He said there's only three levels of Yisr. There's Avada Yisr, Safik Yisr, and Heter. If something is Avada Yisr, as Yisr, the moment you make a Safik, you bring it down a step, a category to the next level, which is Safik Yisr. If there's a Safik and a Safik Yisr, what's the next level? Mutter. That's it. There's no other levels. Vada Yisr, Safik Yisr, Mutter. So the moment you make a Safik in level number 2, Safik Yisr, there's nowhere else to go but to Vada Heter. So the Gemara, the aim of bottom, about Vada Yisr. Me yema the butler. So since it's a Vada Yisr, and now you only have one suffix, you have a Vada Yisr. Suffix, whether it was cancelled, a suffix might be a Vada. A suffix cannot take away from a Vada, and we had this whole sugya in Pesachim, which we'll have now again. Says the Gemara, "Ein suffix might be a Vada." You telling me no? But Tanya, we learned Chaver, a Chaver who's an expert, who's reliable when it comes to these things of tatters, all that shemesa and if he passed away, even he left behind a whole, warehouse full of fruits. I feel the man was fresh, just cut. Had a harvested definitely the truma was given. The mice is all good. It's definitely it's a vadai tebel, right? Still, you do something to take it out. Everything that grows always is tebel. The moment you harvest it, Safik asrinu, Safik lo asrinu. We don't know 100% whether it gave mice or not, especially if it's been a yom and he died on that day. We don't know. We see a suffix does cancel a vadai. So why by Avodah Zarah don't we say that it's shvarim? I'm mutter as well. So the order has some vadai, but more give two answers. It's a vada and a vadai. When we say a chaver, we didn't say a person. Stam person, a suffix. Did he or didn't he? But when it comes to a chaver definitely the moment he's able to give truma and maises, he did it. Yeah. So therefore, it's a vadai and a vadai. Vadai asinu. Why Kirab Chanina Chazor Chazaka al Chaver, that definitely the Chazaka on the Chaver and expert on will never leave for a moment something that he could be marshal other people by eating it without giving truma and maises. Another answer is forget. It's taka al maskim. It's a suffix. Nothing is 100%. Chazaka maybe is not a suffix. That goof is the shaila. That goof is two answers. Is chazaka like a vada? Chazaka is more like a roiv, which is probably, or chazaka is like a halacha thing. We don't know what it is. It's, we're not sure, but no boss. But it's also a suffix whether it ever b'chayiv in terms of ISIS. Why? The suffix. Why? Because there's a way of circumnavigating the laws of not every time you make a harvest automatically does it become, because it has to be totally ripe and then walk into through your front house. We had the peches in Bumatzia. It has to see the plant bias. But if you brought it in either through the gag or you brought it in the moisture, you brought it in when it's still sitting in its husks. It wasn't yet, to finish Gemar Malachim, and you bring it into the house, so you wouldn't get chayiv. And if you then do the Gemar Malachim in the house, you're not chayiv here. You're not chayiv terms of ISIS because it didn't see Pnei Bayis exactly. So therefore, it's again a suffix. A person can trick his true and bring it in its husks. Because if it brings in the husk, at least you can eat achilas aray, not achilas keva, because it would be acid, acid, but achilas aray, a snack, or give it to the animal, which is always treated like a snack. So therefore, it's a suffix whether it's tevel, and you're right, it's a suffix whether they gave, suffix can take away something, but a suffix cannot cancel a vade. Okay, so the Gemara vein suffix moitzim vade, but Tanya we learned. There's a story about a maid of this particular meitzig, a meitzig, a very strong, oppressive person. Berima in a tarima, she tila nefel the boy that she threw in her fetus inside a bird, and they wanted to know. What do you call it? Whether she is a boy or a girl, how long he's tummy for. Well, Bob Koyin came along. Koyin he says, Tesa says right over here, and he says in Psochim, Koyin Shoitahaya. And he peered over. Yeah, because if he's covering over, he could come tummy. Later, Im Zachem Rekeva. Uba Maise Lifnei Chachamim. And the story came before the Chachamim. What do we do with this kohen? V'tiharu. They were retired. And why? There's a good possibility that the Nefil wasn't there. Talking about he didn't see the Nefil. We would have seen the Nefil. Talking about he didn't see it. The possibility was just not there anymore. So no, it's a vadai. Is a vadai Nefil fell in there. A suffix if a chulda and the bardlas took it away, and we see that we mataya the kohen. Suffix overrides the vadai. The vadai he till Nefil. Suffix gerua. Suffix was taken without doing that because it's not much the vadai. Says your mother, Loy Tamer, don't read. He tila nefil boy. He definitely threw in a fetus into the boy. Alay me tila kimin nefil boy. He's not even sure what it was. It just a sack with fluids, or was it taka nefil, or was it a baby inside? So therefore, it's a suffix. It's a suffix of how there's so it's only a suffix. That's why the second suffix counts. What do you mean? It says fetish lay daim zachar cable. Sounds like definitely there was a baby, a fetus inside. The question is only the gender. Later, first of all, was there an embryo inside of that? Number one. And the tim so it's a sex fake of the whole thing, and therefore it's not a suffix versus a body. Or another way. Or he boy say even you want to learn that definitely an ape fell inside, definitely it was taken away. Because that's what they do. They take it away as food. They'll stop over there tomorrow in Mitzvah.